I'm sorry. I got caught up. Good evening, Facebook. Welcome to the Straight Up Talk Show with Earl Rush. And my co-host this evening, Eileen Torres. We have the honor and the privilege to interview one-on-one the fabulous, out of control Lucy Gau from Miami. She is a fabulous, fabulous talent. When you see her on stage, you can't take your eyes off her. She has a voice that's out of control. We're going to get straight to the point because Lucy is busy and so is Eileen. So I'm going to catch up with them now and we're going to go straight to the interview.
Hey, Earl.
Eileen.
Hey guys.
Lucy, how are you?
I'm doing fabulous, doing great. Thanks for inviting me on your show. I'm really excited to be having a conversation with you guys. So
yes, I was telling you earlier, people don't know I'm known for salsa, but I used to be a very good hustle dancer. And so when I found out about you and you're singing the disco songs with the salsa twist, I was just ecstatic. And I said, oh, I've got to meet her, you know.
Like, this is my girl.
So this is great. Before I turn you over to Eileen, I had a couple of questions that I want to ask you. I'll come in every now and then. I wanted to know, do you dance salsa?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do, and I learned from a pretty young age because at home you do that during the parties and home, the family parties, and also I learned in the what we call la rueda or casino dancing. So partners. So yeah, that's the Cuban in me. You have to have that, So I do dance salsa. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I always wanted to take casino, but to be honest with you, Lucy, certain things I've done early in my life, my short-term memory is not that well, so I can never remember the casino calls. So I can't.
But if you just go with the flow, and you just like pass it on to the next person. There you go. Just keep going. But you do good. I mean, if you dance hustle, hustle has a lot to do with the arms, and I know you guys do work. You just working salsa is just a little different, and you just got to combine it. You can do it, Earl. You got this.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna turn it over to Eileen. Miss Lucy, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your hectic schedule to come on to the show. We've had a lot of things to talk about. We're also going to be asking you about what you have going on and future projects that you have as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Eileen right now. We'll talk a little in a few.
Gotcha, Earl.
All right.
All right, Lucy, and to the listeners, I always like to start chronologically so people get a good idea of what your life was like, how you were raised, your family, your childhood, how many siblings you had. So if you can just tell us a little bit about where you were born, where your parents were born, how many siblings you had, and where you came in the birth order.
Well, I was the firstborn. I was born here in Miami Beach. My parents are Cuban, so they are from Cuba. So I do have one brother. He's younger than me. He's 4 years younger than me. But yeah, I'm the oldest.
Okay. And was your family a musical family? Did anybody play or sing?
Well, my mom is, like I always say, like one of those frustrated show moms. She sang very well, but she never had the opportunity because, back in the day where she came from, it was very taboo for women to be in music. It was like a bad thing. They thought they frowned upon it. But she's very musical. My dad is very musical. I think I got my musical talent from my father. He loved music. Because he's from the countryside, from a campo, like we say, and they're very musical when it comes to that's just part of us. But he used to be able to take make music out of an empty beer bottle. So we used it kind of like a flute. It was really cool. So I would hear him doing that, and I was like, "Oh, he's drunk, but he sounds really cool."
Wow. So what music did your parents listen to?
Well, they listened to, of course, to the Cuban music. Benny Moré, Celia Cruz, and, of course, your typical salsa bands, Gran Combo. My mom, when she came here when she was around 17 years old, and she fell in love with like rock music and the stylistics, and she was just really, she's like, wow, what is this? So that's how she learned English, by listening to American music.
Wow. And you, as an adolescent and as a teenager, what were you listening to?
Oh, my influences. Let me see. I would listen to a lot of, disco. Of course, I love that because I basically was brought up in that era, or, born into that. Freestyle, which was very popular. But I listened to a lot of like Ella Fitzgerald, believe it or not, Etta James, that rasp, that attitude behind us, and in school, and that's what we learned from that. That's what they taught us in choir, or, things like that, those kind of songs like that, even in show tunes and things. So I have like an influence of everything, because when I was in school, I did study musical theater. So my forte back in the day, now of course it's something else, was musical theater. I would do lots of Broadway tunes and things like that. And I guess that's maybe why I have that thick voice, or that, apart from that's like naturally born, I think, but it developed into being able to project, until you have to make sure you hit the back of the theater. And that's what I grew up listening to, all different kinds of music. So, salsa, everything. That's why my sound is not like anybody else's, because I have from everywhere. I've listened to everything. So that's a bit
wonderful. And now you began singing in church as a child. Is that correct?
That is correct. I used to sing in a Methodist church. And I was about 7 years old, and 8 years old, I think it was 7. And there was a group called Alpha, which, in the Bible means the beginning, ironically. So I would sing in the choir. It was a group of maybe 12 adolescents, 7, 8 to 12 years old, and things like that. And we used to travel from church to church. But I always had that little urge inside of me, like saying, that little bug saying, I was always the loudest one, but yet I was the shyest one. So it was loud because it was naturally loud, or, the volume wise, but it was like, who's the one singing? And my voice always stood out.
So tell us about traveling to street festivals with a cassette that you just happened to have with you.
That was my mom. My mom would take me to the famous Calle Ocho. Those are the street parties on 8th Street here in Miami. And she would go from stage to stage. I was maybe around that same age, 7, 8. So she would dress me up in a little rumberita costume with all the little ruffles and stuff like that. I had like very short hair. She would put like a flower in my hair with like some tape to make sure it wouldn't fall off. And so whenever they gave me the opportunity in between the band sets, they would like let me go up and sing how cute the little girl singing. And that's how I developed the love for performing in front of people. And just because of the reaction and the feedback that you would get from that. So I think it became kind of like my drug, so to say, so young. And you become like addicted to that. Yeah.
And as I understand, your voice was different than the other little girls you sang with. What differentiated your voice from your songmates?
From the choir at church, it was just, I think, the power that I had behind it. It was very full and very on key. Because, choir at 7, 8, even 10, 11 years old, you're still working on focusing on making sure you're on key. And, you just do it because you're singing in a group and everybody sounds the same. So, but I think what I believe what stood out was because I just had a powerful voice, and that's what made me stand out.
And who encouraged you to get a vocal coach? And when did you begin training with a vocal coach?
Yeah, I started with the vocal coach because my mom, I had a friend of mine, of my mom's, that had her daughter doing, with a piano teacher that taught you how to sing, and, and you do little shows here and there. So the lady spoke to my mom and said, hey, your daughter should come along and, and learn how to, polish her voice, and it'll be good for her to be more musical, that way she can. So that was around, I want to say maybe 10, because before it was just singing in the choir and stuff like that. But I started polishing with my first teacher, which her name was Susana, around 10 years old. And there is when I started. She wanted to teach me how to play piano because it was part of the class. It was the whole development. She wanted like the full artist. Like, you know, she wanted me to accompany myself while I was singing and do the dancing and do all the whole show thing. But that was just not for me. You know, I didn't have the discipline. I was like, my right hand and my left hand are not getting along. It was just, I mean, I can carry a tune and maybe play a few notes and a few chords and things like that, but it was just not for me. My thing was just being on that stage and just carrying on and just being myself. That was just it. That's it.
Did you try any other instruments, or were you done once you?
No, when I said, you know, maybe the piano was too complicated for me, sort of say, and I didn't want it. It was too late. Like I was too lazy. I'm not gonna lie, to learn and study and do all that. So when I got into middle school, I remember that I picked up the flute, and I was like, oh, this is easy. I'm gonna carry the flute with me, and it's a small little case, and you just take it home and you practice. I drove my mom crazy with a little, you know, but I did learn how to play the flute. It was about, I got up to 3 years on that. If you don't practice it and you don't practice it, you kind of lose it. You know, it's not like riding a bike. Definitely not like riding a bike. So, but yeah, that's why I thank God I had that kind of, I guess, opportunity to learn those things in school, because I have a good ear now. You know, I know how to read music, you know, solfeo and all that good stuff that you have to, you know, that makes you develop and grow. So a lot of people think that, oh, because you're a singer, you don't have a background or any musicality. And, you know, when sometimes they get surprised by the things that I'm like, oh, okay, I need this chord, or give me this key and this. And they're like, oh, well, respect.
Oh, she knows what she's talking about, huh?
There you go.
Imagine that. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want you to brag on yourself a little bit, toot your own horn, and tell us when you realized you had a special voice.
Oh God, how funny. You know, I think it's more of, you always know you have a good voice, and anybody who tells you differently is maybe trying to be a little bit modest. You know what you're born for. I think it's something that you're born with, and then you develop and you make it bigger. But I used to be playing with local bands here in Miami, and a lot of times I would stand out, and people would be like, "Oh my God, who's that girl singing in the band? What's her name?" And you know, it kind of like made me a little bit like, I was like, I'm not getting enough attention that I want. I'm not getting the credit that I should be getting. Darn it. So, you know, that's when I decided, I said, you know what? I said, I want to go solo. But this was later on. I'm talking about after I had my kids and everything. I was like, I want to let people know who Lucy Gau is and what she's all about and what she has to offer. And, you know, why she's not just your background singer. She's this is her. This is me. And I think you're born for certain things. And this is what I was born for.
Well, let's backtrack a little bit and talk about you as a teenager singing in a local band.
Yeah, I remember the first time was on one of those famous Calle Ocho stages. Rubén Otero from the Orquesta América, when he rest in peace, he was doing stage managing as well as his band was playing. So between the set, as I explained earlier, you know, I would go up and, you know, do back in that day it was CDs. We grew up from cassette to CD. So then I did my thing in between, and he heard me singing one of Celia's songs, and he's like, oh my gosh, he's like, you're great. You want to join our band? I'm like, hey, okay. So that was at 13 was my first experience. Wow. To be playing with a live band. And I remember having to go with my mom to all the gigs and anytime to travel anywhere. So it was La Niña with her mom. It's like, you know, it was the package. So, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot about street music. And in other words, it's different when you're playing with, singing along with a background track. And when you have that live band behind you, that you have to really bring it. and you have to defend yourself. If not, they drown you. And I think that it's true. They drown you. You know, you have like that 16 piece, 15 piece, how many ever it is, and the horns, the percussion, all that. If you don't belt it out, you're gonna get lost. And that was a big schooling for me, like a real shocker. Like in the beginning, you know, I was very timid and shy. I remember there was another lady in the band. Her name is Lady Jane, as a matter of fact, and I owe her a lot. I learned a lot from her. And I remember she would do all the singing, and she would like animate the party. And it was just, I would be in awe, like, wow, I want to be as liberated as her and be so cool and be able to just, you know, talk to people and just get to them. And you know what? One day I was put on the spot, and she was sick, or I don't know, she had something to do. I don't remember exactly. And I had to be the front of the band. I had to do what Lady Jane was doing. And it changed my life, because I was like, wow, people like me. I was like, my energy is contagious. And it was like something like you develop this communication between the crowd and yourself. And it's just something that it's sublime. It's like, wow, it's like, this is my family. Let's talk. Let's have a chat. What do you want? You want to dance? Let's dance. You know, it was like, from then on, it just changed my life. I must have been like 17 when that happened, because I was with her for many years. And then I was like around 17 when that happened. I was like, that's it. This is me.
Wow. So you went from singing coro to being the front.
The front. Yes.
Yes. Fabulous. So who were your idols, and did any of them influence you? Is there anything that you took from them or incorporated into your style, or is it all just Lucy Gau?
Well, I have influence from many different powerful, wonderful women. From Celia Cruz, my favorite, because she was just powerhouse. Ella Fitzgerald, the way she would scat and she would be musical with her voice. Donna Summer, of course, her peculiar voice. You knew it was Donna. It was just like you put it on and you knew that was her, and her range. And I had all these little influences. And then, of course, you know, playing with the live band, then you start developing your own sound, and you get to hear from there. And I guess what helped me out a lot was, you know, when I was playing with those local bands, we did have to play, you know, like regular either top 40 or salsa music that was on the radio, merengue and all that stuff. And that's when you pick up a here and there, not copying. And that's when you develop yourself, and you pick what you like and what you don't like, and you just make your own sound. But I think what I have, the combination of all that stuff, and that's what I've created, which is a Lucy Gau sound. When you listen to me, I would like to think that I don't sound like anybody else. Like, I don't sound like a copy of anybody. And I kind of take pride in that, because I make myself unique, I guess, sort of say. Respecting all the other women that I have idolized all my life, you know, like my friend India, when I remember hearing her sing freestyle, and that voice, that soprano voice, was just amazing. And then all of a sudden she changed and she started singing salsa. I'm like, wow, that is just outstanding. So yeah, I've had a lot of women influences that really have made me develop into the artist that I am now.
So you mentioned Donna Summer, and how did her death affect you?
I was, you know, it was like, wow, I never had a chance to see her in person. It was like one of those, like, gosh, I never got to see her perform in person. I loved her music, all her songs. I mean, I would just, like, from top to bottom, I would know her repertoire. And when she passed away in May of 2012, May 17th, I remember the date. It was like, wow, nobody has done on a tribute to the Donna, you know? She passed away, and it was just like, oh yeah, you know, Donna Summer passed away, the Queen of Disco. And I was like, wow, nobody's done anything. So that's what changed my life, in the sense of, I said, you know what, out of like my own, you know, like, I wanted to do a little tribute to her. I said, let's do like a salsa tribute. Let's do you know, like in honor of her, like a Latin tribute. And that's when Last Dance came out, which is before it on the radio. And that was it was amazing. So when people heard it, they're like, oh my God, it's just so different. It's good. And then it's like, your respect, because I really try to respect the her whole influence and her all that that was Donna Summer. So I think I try to respect that as much as I can, and I think it was a success, and people remember that. I cannot go to a gig right now and go anywhere, and if I don't sing Last Dance, it's like I wasn't there. Who's that? So
wow.
So, I did do the tribute. I spoke to my arranger, and I go to him, hey, can you think you could do Last Dance in salsa? And he's like, I don't know, Lucy, that's kind of like rough to do. And then he called me like at 4 a.m. I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, hello, Carlito, what are you doing? He's like, girl, I just emailed you the arrangement. And at 4 a.m. I was like, this is amazing. So, yeah.
So you had already gone solo at this time?
No, this is when I was starting. Yeah, this was when I had that inquietud, like we say in Spanish, that little like
that impulse, and
Mm-hmm. So, and that's when I went solo, when I did Last Dance.
Okay. Now, how long have you had your current band?
Oh my God, since then, it's gonna be almost 10 years. This current band that I have now since 2012.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about your solo release, Alocada. Tell us about that.
Well, that's when I did Last Dance, as I was mentioning, and people wanted more. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? Oh my gosh, I only wanted to do one song. I mean, we also know that we have to put our own stuff because we have to pay for everything. You don't have a backup from a record company. You don't have anybody to do anything for you now. Before it was different. And I said, well, let's do little by little. And then people just kept, either requesting things. And Lucy, why don't you do this one in salsa? Why don't you do that one in salsa? So what I did on the radio. We did Killing Me Softly. Those and Last Dance. Those are the 3 that were in Alocada. And the rest were like original tunes. So we did that Alocada CD. That was the first one. And then after that, then people just kept asking me, Lucy, why don't you do this song in salsa? They were all disco hits, And I was like, So then that's when years later, the most recent one is when we did A Petición by Request, which is a salsa disco collection. And we did like MacArthur Park in salsa, the Let's Groove, Car Wash. The list goes on and no more tears.
Side hustle as a notary. Notaries are paid on the spot and they create their own hours every single day. And
there was a notary going on in there.
Wow.
Everything notarized, by the way.
Oh, the commercial coming through.
Everything is legalized.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Now, when you did Alocada, you stated that it was made with your love and with your sacrifice. Can you tell us what those sacrifices were?
Well, sacrifice, of course, number 1, economically, because, you have to do everything on your own. Number 2, time away from my children, because I had to spend time in the studio, had to spend time writing songs. And it was, for an independent artist, and especially as a woman, and a lot of these other women, like maybe Sita and Choco and maybe Nora, we know that, especially when you have a family, the family tends to be affected, not really affected, but thank God I have a marvelous husband. My family has always backed me up, but it's always a sacrifice because you're spending time away from your loved ones to do something, and you're taking money from something else that you might want to take a vacation and do something with them, and you're putting it into something else. So it's done with a lot of love because I know that I wanted to do this not just for myself, but for my family. And for the fans out there who were asking me to do more. And I was like, well, maybe I can, sacrifice myself a little bit, but I'm going to give people what they want. And thank God it's rolled the correct way.
Right. So you had mentioned India earlier. What was the experience like working with her?
She's great. She is right now, she's like, they call her la más que canta, because she has this voice and this power and this stage presence, and she's charismatic, and she's just right now she's royalty. And it's been very humbling working with her, because I know she doesn't work with a lot of people. And she's not just that, but she's my friend. She's she's like my sister. And I've been blessed to know her, blessed to be able to get advice from her, to have great conversations with her one-on-one, and her staying in my house, and we just having a great time. It's just seeing the other side of being an artist, not just, the person that you see on YouTube or on a video or on TV. You see the real side, and it's nice and refreshing to see that. And she's an amazing artist, and I'm very proud of her. I'm proud to be her friend.
Ooh, okay, all right. Well, yeah, I've seen that you have worked with a lot of amazing people, but I wanted to ask you about her because she's one of my favorites as well.
We're gonna like to meet her one day.
So let me ask you this, Lucy. When you go out, I'm sure you're busy all the time when you have bodyguards or whatever. When you go out, but do you ever go out social dancing for salsa?
Oh, I love social dancing, and my husband is an amazing dancer. That man can dance. It's funny because now he doesn't dance as much. I'm not sure if it's because he's getting older. But he dances so good, so smoothly. And yeah, I like to once in a while. Sometimes it's difficult for me to go out social dancing. So I try to do it more like as in, in a family ambiance, or sometimes even like I'm somewhere and nobody sees me. And then, I'm like, let me just go sneak in a dance kind of thing, because your body needs it.
Right.
And, once a dancer, always a dancer. And it's a lot of fun. I love to, whenever I can sneak it in, I try.
Well, Eileen always brings the greatest people to DC. I'm surprised she has never brought you to DC before.
We'll see. She's getting to know me now.
Well, let me talk about that, because thanks to a Cleveland DJ by the name of Juan Carrion, he is known for playing current music, current artists, current songs, whereas the gentleman who's on the hour before plays the classics. And he played a song, and I heard it, and within one sentence, I was saying, who in the world is that woman? Okay. I never heard that voice. I never heard it. I wanted to hear more. And at the end of the song, he said your name. And I'm like, what did he say? I couldn't understand him. And I saw him about a week later at a social event. I said, hey, you played this song by a woman? And he started naming this one. No, it's not her. This one. No, not her. This one. Yes, Lucy Gau. Oh my God. I said, that woman is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And as soon as I heard your voice, I incorporated you into a video presentation that I do that highlights women that have broken the glass ceiling in the male-dominated salsa.
Wow, what an honor! Thank you, Eileen.
Because your voice, and Earl, do you have the clip of that song? Because
oh, that's Jojitas. I call him my twin because he's got long hair and everything like me. This guy is outstanding. You guys have to look him up. He's out of this world.
Well, that's the song that turned me on to you and converted me to I'm beyond a salsa fan. I am like a salsa fanatic for your voice now.
Oh, thank you. That's sweet.
It's powerful. It's majestic. It's clear. It's just on point. So I have to,
you're making me blush.
We're gonna have to bring you to DC, Lucy. That's what we're gonna have to do.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Real quick. I learned the tricks already.
Well, I want to ask you a couple of things because La India gave you the name of La Dama de la Salsa. And can you tell us why she gave you that title?
Well, she gave it to me because she thinks I'm a very classy lady. Because, nowadays, women, it's very difficult, in this genre. As you know, Eileen, since you are a connoisseur of salsa, you understand how it is. It's very difficult for us women here in the salsa genre to stand out. Sometimes they use not like, there's amazing singers like Choco, like Sita, like Nora, people you've had here before, India. There's women out there with these voices that, you respect them because of their voice. However, there are some women out there that have been created in the industry, let's just say, that use maybe their sexuality to sell the product.
Ooh.
So, to say it lightly. so she respects me because I don't need to show anything in order to be able to sell my talent. So she has baptized me as La Dama de la Salsa because she thinks I'm a classy lady. And she likes that about me because she says that her madrina, which is, as you know, is Celia Cruz, was always a very classy lady. And she herself doesn't, dress and does ridiculous things. And so we try to keep it classy. And I think that's very important when it comes to this, for the men to respect you in this genre, because this is a very male-dominated genre. And in order for them to respect you, not just the way you dress, but you have to really know your craft in salsa. You have to know about clave. You have to know about improvisando. You have to know about time. It's just, you have to do that. And I think, and I'm very happy that she has, baptized me with that title. It's kind of something hard, very big to take, but I'm proud of that because I do feel like a lady, and I like to carry myself that way.
So you made a conscious decision not to use your sexuality as a marketing tool.
Exactly. You can be sexy without being vulgar.
Yeah.
Right.
To draw the line. You have to know.
That's right. Now, so what are some of the other challenges for women in this industry?
There's a lot. We don't get as much, radio time. We don't get as much, again, it's always an ongoing battle for us women because of that, just because of, because we're women, because they think we're the weak link, because they think that in order for them, to do a favor for you, you have to do a favor for them. Wow. And it's just very challenging. And fortunately, I have not had any of those kind of encounters. So, but it is challenging for a lot of women to be respected. And not just this genre, but in the whole industry. And, that's why when you see a woman succeed, you have to applaud it, big, great voices like Adele and all these other women who, even Beyonce and things like that. She's just an amazing performer with an amazing, she's beautiful. And yet you see she's classy, So those kind of women you got to look up to. And, but, it's hard. I can only imagine what they had to go through to be able to get to where they're at. And they just pure talent. And you have to admire that.
How do men in the industry generally treat you?
I have been lucky enough to been treated with respect because I demand respect. And I think that is key. If you don't set your standards and you think of yourself as something less than what you really are, then they're not going to respect you. And of course, the men they're going to step all over you. So I have been fortunate enough to be respected, and it continues to be that way.
Okay. What's been the most surprising or perhaps the most disappointing about being in this business?
The lack of opportunities, I think. I think it's that you have to do everything on your own now. And, you don't get the recognition that sometimes you might think that you deserve, sort of say. But other than that, it's just I love what I do, and I'm happy with what I have, where the level that I have gotten to. I feel I make my fans happy. Again, like I said, the musicians respect me. My colleagues in the industry respect me, and I think that's really important, to be respected. That's the key.
So where outside of Miami have you performed?
Outside of Miami, I've been to many places. I've been to Colombia, I've been to Venezuela, I've been to Chicago, I've been to New Jersey, to Philadelphia. I've been to a few other places. I'm still missing some big places that I want to go to. I want to go to Peru. I want to go to Puerto Rico. That's one of my big things. Japan. I was trying to work something out, but it didn't, But there's, I've played different places, the Bahamas, Aruba. I've traveled to a bunch of places that, I have on my resume, sort of say, which is exciting. Yeah, different kinds of audiences. Yeah.
Can you see the message that just came in from Carlos Timba Maldonado? He's a local musician, and he sent his salutations to you, and that he's doing your version of I'm Coming Out. His daughter is 19 years old and an upcoming salsa singer.
Oh, yes, you go. That's right. Another woman salsera. I love it. Another salsera. That's right. Carlos, hit me up. I want to hear her singing. Hear it.
All right, Carlos, you heard that.
Lucy, Lucy, how did you meet your husband?
We met. This is funny. We met at bingo. So there is a casino here called Mikasuki here in Miami, and I just finished playing bingo with my mom because my mom was a bingo fanatic, and there's a lounge outside in the in the casino, of course. And my mom's like, oh, let's go and go get a drink, something to drink before we leave. I'm like, okay. So we walked over there, and there was a band playing. Of course, music always draws my attention, whether it's 3-piece, 5-piece, whatever. And I went over there just to see the little band, and that's when he was there. He was dancing. I was like, oh, that guy dances really good. My mom's like, I'm gonna go ask him to dance with you. So he dance with me, and he ignored me. So I'm like, I was like, what? So he didn't dance with me that night. But the next day, we went to another concert and to a comedy show, and it came out the coincidence that he was there as well. So I was like, is this guy like following me, or he's not following me? So that night he did dance with me, and casualmente we danced Bailando from Frankie Ruiz, and we've been in love ever since.
Oh.
And that's exactly what the song says. It all started with a dance. How appropriate for your meeting with him and your first dance. That's fabulous.
Yes. What a coincidence. Yeah.
Well, I thought of a question today when I was putting on my makeup, and I wondered if you have.
By the way, Eileen.
Thank you. It gets harder with each passing year. But anyway, I wonder if you've ever considered doing a group of recordings of jazz standards, because you've got a voice that translates well, and I think it would open you to another audience that you may have not even dreamed about yet. Have you ever thought about that?
That I really digging that idea, to be honest with you. You now that you mentioned it, I've always, that like I explained earlier, I learned singing with, Ella Fitzgerald, Etta James, Nina Simone, all those great, Sarah Vaughan. Those were like my influences, part of my influences. And recently there was this young man named Ernesto Fernandez that did a Latin jazz kind of thing. And he asked me to do un bolero called Silencio. And from then it was like, we did like a little light jazz thing. And it was like, wow, I said, I want to do more of this. This was like really interesting. So maybe I'll, take you up on that. Maybe we can do like a concept album of one of those kind of jazzy kind of feeling kind of, recordings. And I think that's, let me look into that. Not a bad idea, Eileen.
Well, I mean, there's so many songs that people know the words to because they've heard them for decades. So yeah. It's just an idea. Now, once COVID has been contained and we can get back to a good sense of normalcy, what are your plans?
Well, currently, I'm recording a new album as a solo, of course, a new album. But I'm also working with this band called Orquesta Fuego. They're based in Orlando, and they're really good. And they just released an album now called Baila Mi Salsa, and I did a duet with their main singer Miguel. It's called Piensa con el corazón, think with your heart. And then I also recorded a song called A Mal Tiempo Buena Salsa. So that's going to be on their record. But I'm also working at the same time on some original tunes on a new album. We're going to probably title it maybe Mujer Tremenda or something like that. And of course, I'm trying to maybe incorporate the Lucy sound, the disco with the salsa. I'm trying to put that in there as well because people are going to want that. I'm going to do, try to reach out to other audiences, but, I'm also going to give them what they want.
Okay. So what advice do you have for these young singers that have aspirations of becoming successes in the industry? For instance, like Carlos's daughter at 19, who is looking toward this goal. You who have such a large body of experience, what advice would you give to these young ladies?
Just never give up on your dreams. It's never too late. Just keep trying, practice. Always make sure that they respect you so that you will last in this business. It's really rough sometimes. Sometimes you just you get up in the morning, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But you know what? This is like a disease that we have. And then all of a sudden the virus comes back out and you're like, you know what? Forget what I said this morning. I need music. I need to record. I need to sing. I need to dance. It's, go with what your heart tells you. I know there's another young lady, that she does my covers too. She's only 12. It was unbelievable. I heard her. Her name is Jazz McNally. And I was like, oh my God, 12 years old, and I'm reaching that audience. And it's a very powerful feeling. It's very gratifying to see youth doing just like, Carlos's daughter doing I'm Coming Out and things like that. It's just, it's very refreshing and very empowering, especially, young ladies, looking up to somebody, that's not, in a bathing suit dancing, kind of thing. So just keep doing what you're doing. Do it with honor. Do it with respect, and you will get far.
I always thought that it would be great for women to sing some of these songs that men sing to us about, oh, baby, it didn't mean anything. I'm not going to do it again. I would love to hear women sing that to men. Oh, baby, he looked good for a moment and I went for it, but it didn't mean anything. Snap out of it.
That's it. Over it. You're not the flavor of the month anymore.
So do you have goals that you have not attained, things that you're striving for, things that you want to do, throughout your long career?
I think you always have goals. Even when you meet your goals, you want to do other things and you create new goals, because once you stop making goals and you kind of stop living, sort of say, one of my main goals, I want to sing in Puerto Rico. I want to sing in my parents' native Cuba when it's free. I want to sing in Carnegie Hall. I want to do things like that. And I think I'm going to do those things. Hopefully when COVID is over, I'm going to put my mind into it. And I said, let's do it. And we can make it happen. You can never give up on your dreams and your goals. You can't. That's good for you.
Have you thought about entering the world of musical stage productions?
No, actually I haven't, but that's, maybe I should try to look into that. Yeah, Eileen, I think that's not a bad idea.
Well, I mean, they did several shows, honoring Celia and honoring La Lupe and, another one.
They did like the Donna Summer one as well, I think, but that was a Broadway show, I think.
Well, and they did one on Gloria Estefan, but they also did one on Yoli, La Lupe. Yeah, La Lupe.
Okay.
Anyway, But you seem to be able to transverse not just the salsa genre, but something just off the top of my head, like Pirates of Penzance or something like that. I mean, whatever. You just seem to have that ability to do whatever it takes.
Thank you. That means a lot. I did do some musical theater, like I told you, when I was in high school, in the beginning of my college years as well. I did do some of that, and that has always been like one of my, also maybe another thing that I can look forward to do in the future. Now Broadway, everything is shut down, but I did learn how to do that again. It's something that I learned. I grew up doing, Annie, Cats, and now with all these things going on, everything is just, the Hamilton and all the diversions, and it's just, it's something that I'm probably going to look into as well.
Do you write any of your own lyrics?
I do. I have written some songs, and right now I'm in the process of writing some new songs as well. So we'll see what comes out of that. It's harder for me because since I'm believe it or not, I'm a little shy. So sometimes when I write lyrics, it's like kind of personal, and I'm like, well, I don't know if people will like this, and then when you put it onto music, it's like, oh, doesn't sound bad. It's not okay. So yeah.
Wow.
And how do you rate yourself when it comes to improvising, doing the soneos? How do you rate yourself?
I leave that to the experts. There's some amazing soneras out there, and I would rate myself not too great. I'm going to be honest. I do respect it, and I leave it like that. So, I could do it if I wanted to, but I would give myself maybe maybe a 4. Be honest.
Okay. Well, that's good.
So Lucy, you mentioned that you were kind of shy, and honestly, I can kind of relate to that because I'm known as an outgoing person, but I'm basically kind of shy myself. And I think people who have seen you perform are sitting there looking at themselves and thinking, how could this lady who's so dynamic on the stage and when she's performing be shy? When she's on stage, she's totally in command.
Yeah, it's like I'm having like a Beyonce alter ego, Sasha Fierce kind of moment. Literally, you jump on that stage, you have the microphone in front of you, you have the crowd, and it's like, I'm a different person. I'm transformed. It's my therapy. That's it. That is my world right there. Whatever happens on that stage, that's me. That's my world. You can't tell me not to do things. You cannot tell me. I mean, a lot of times my husband tells me, Lucy, remember not to say this, or Lucy, don't move like this, or, and then it's like totally cuts me off. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? Forget what he said. I'm going to do what I want. And then when I'm off the stage, then you can tell me, Lucy, don't do this. Don't say this.
Right. So you're different. You're just a completely different person from on stage than when you're off stage.
Yeah. I mean, it's still the same energy, as you can tell, the same intensity, but I'm a different person. Okay. I'm not shy. I'm not, not too timid about asking, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Do you get nervous before you go on stage?
All the time. Don't get nervous. It's like my mouth dries up. I get like my stomach. Am I going to remember the lyrics? It's all the time. No matter how many people are in front of me, it doesn't matter.
And then once you get up there, you forget about it.
Yeah. Just once it's the first few. Maybe the first few measures, maybe 16 measures into it, I'm in there. I'm like, oh, I'm still nervous. Okay. Oh, this is okay. This is feeling good. This is feeling home. I'm okay. They're accepting me. I'm good. Let's move on. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Well, when all is said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
Ooh, good question. I want to be remembered most importantly as a good person. As humble person. I want to be remembered as a good mom, a good wife, a good friend, and that's what I want to be remembered as.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, wow.
Well, I'll tell you, I am looking forward to coming to Miami to seeing you in person because, you know, the YouTube clips are great, but they don't do you justice. So
you have to come to one of my shows. It's contagious. I promise you.
2022, I'll be there. I don't know when, but I will be there. I'll let you know.
Let me know. VIP.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we're about wrap it up. You got anything else you want to say, Eileen?
No, just that I am so glad that I was made aware of your talent. I'm so glad that I was able to find you. Chino Nunez was very helpful.
I love Chino and his wife. Love them.
And Elaine, yes, they very helpful in helping me track you down. And this, for me, was just another step in showing and demonstrating how women are doing it with all of the obstacles that are part of their reality, but succeeding at a very high level. And you are there, and I know you're going to be doing more things than you thought about doing, and you are going to have a much wider audience and a very broad fan base.
Thank you, Eileen. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for inviting me. Thank you for all the things you've said. Thanks to Juan Carrion, who played that song that you.
Yes.
Thanks to everybody who's tuned in to listen into the interview. Appreciate you guys greatly. Thank you.
Well, Lucy, I want to thank you as stated earlier in the interview, for taking time out of your hectic schedule. I also like to thank our co-host Eileen Torres for making this interview happen, and for you being a part of our tribute to Women's History Month. And it was a blast. It was great to meet you.
Likewise. We got to do it again.
Yes, definitely. I'm coming down to Miami as well. Once this craziness goes on, maybe we can.
We'll make it happen. Don't worry.
All right. Thank you so much, Lucy.
Bye, guys.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye.